This is called I Can't Remember. Oh, rub the old eyes. Life in the Hyde Park area of Leeds was more than its normal self the day it happened. The sun blazed down, not altogether normal for a June day in northern England, on the many young student heads that had decided it was not too nice a day to sit in lectures. Those with a job and no conscience followed the throng of students, and those without a job, conscience or not, tagged along because they could. The multicoloured statue of Queen Victoria was not amused. 12 o'clock in the park was a hive of inactivity, bar the skateboarders on the quarter pipe and the odd sedate games of cricket and frisbee, when several people, scattered randomly around the expansive park, absent-mindedly mentioned to their nearest and stonedest that they were sure that the big plane-like object in the clear blue sky was getting closer and less plane-like with every second. By the time that the joint they were smoking had passed dutifully from one mouth to another to another to another, and then eventually back to them, the whole park was transfixed on the 5-vehicle theatre above. You see, the RAF, in their wisdom, had tried to communicate, unsuccessfully, with the inhuman spaceship from the moment that the white coats at Jodrell Bank had called them, with their giddy-kippy-tinny high voices and stuttering split infinitives. When they received no discernible answer from the silver craft, except some sort of gobbledygook, the RAF sent forth a cheery reception committee of 4 F-35Bs to gently coax the craft to RAF Church Fenton in Tadcaster, Yorkshire. It was very reluctant to follow, to say the least. The RAF decided to fire a volley of jovial warning shots over the pointy forward end of the gleaming alien craft. Oops. This only resulted in the craft totally ignoring the warm welcome and to continue to descend quietly and smoothly toward the oath before. An earth populated by several hundred pleasantly surprised and mostly stoned sunseekers. Questions were being asked, not many of them intelligent. For example, is that a UFO? When the people underneath the UFO realized there was soon to be very underneath, if they didn't act soon, they acted, mostly by running into each other in an attempt to clear the lovely green area. High in the sky, the pilots were getting frustrated and decided a couple of air-to-air missiles should make Mr. Alien think twice. Mr. Alien took the full force, thought once, and opened his landing legs before calmly plunking down by the side of the small skate park. A sole boarder with big headphones obviously obliviously performed a few tricks until the spaceship caused a shadow. He then screamed, bumped into himself, and turned tail. The fighter planes gave up the ghost and landed frustratingly by its side. 45 minutes later, the ship was surrounded by a representative of every major TV news company in the world, all asking the same questions in a variety of tongues and accents. How, where, why, when, and what. No answers were forthcoming. Washington called Downing Street to demand answers, and Downing Street, and under the leadership of the first balls of steel Prime Minister since Maggie, Thomas McCarthy, told him to bugger off. By 2 o'clock, the police and armed forces appeared on the scene and pushed the frightened bystanders back and cordoned off the UFO in exactly the same place as the frightened bystanders had cordoned off the UFO. The UFO silently allowed the outside to stay that way. Its giant silver arrow shape also allowed the gentle breeze to play off and around its many sensors, analysing every chemical and molecule and coming to the conclusion that it was safe to venture outside and have a stroll. 2:30 and 24 seconds exactly, every human being surrounding the spaceship let out a squeal and took a step back in unison as a plume of precious gas forced its way out of a side vent of the craft like a cow fart. The world and his mistress held their breath in anticipation. The excited news crews began to chatter incessantly to their cameras, viewed by their millions of front-room spectators, and Miss Betty Duke had told the rest of the people present that the gas smelled like pig poo, whilst holding her little nose like that. Nobody disagreed. Mere seconds later, the area of humans hushed once more as an opening appeared in the windless hulk of metal. White light could be seen sprouting from the doorframe like shards of mirrored glass. As the door unfolded to the ground, a humanoid shape could be seen silhouetted dramatically. The door thumped to the ground heavily, revealing steps that the humanoid slumped down. Every step its heavy feet made allowed the spectators a better view of it, until there it stood, in front of its craft, a 7-foot robot. Now, it wasn't naked as you'd expect. It seemed to be wearing trousers and a sweater of silk-like quality and a grey baseball-type hat with some sort of hieroglyphic message across the front. The crowd was perfectly silent, even Miss Betty Joker. The robot perused its surroundings slowly, only stopping to wave its metal end at the passing crow. I forgot what was passing then for a minute. The crow crashed into an innocent elm tree in complete surprise. The round, emotional eyes then looked in the direction of the crowd and seemed to shrug, before slumping against its ship with a clang and sliding down with a squeak to the cool green grass. And that's where it stayed. Who knows what's going on inside its metal head, because due to the way they're manufactured, robots are not well known to be endowed with umpteen facial expressions. It did give the news people something to talk about for about 20 minutes, though. When they had exhausted that angle, they handed over to the studio and to the token robot psychologist, Dr. Springfield. He mirthlessly offered many and varied insights into something he'd never met, although seemed to know a lot about. Over the next couple of hours, the MOD sent their top scientists to analyse all the data they had, which frankly wasn't very much, and concluded they had no idea what it said on its hat. I got all my tongue mixed up there a little bit. What it said on its hat. One young professor of diachronic linguistics, they can say diachronic, thought he had worked it out, but was pooh-poohed for suggesting it said robots do it up the plug socket. Roughly an hour after that, it was suggested they just bite the bullet and speak to the thing, and that's what they did. Or specifically, that's what the Chief of Staff at the MOD, General Sir Michael Turnbull, told his staff to tell Major Carl Weathers. No relation at all to Apollo Creed actor Carl Weathers, just a different one. Major Weathers took a drag or two of his cigarette, straightened his tie of his pristine uniform, and strode purposefully, shoulders straight enough to iron a Jacobean ruff on, into the park. "You there," he growled as he got closer. "You with the silky trousers. What's the meaning of all this?" The robot raised his head and clearly and succinctly replied, "Snurdick in the fork," before lowering its head. "Don't be giving me that, sonny," retorted the Major, nonplussed. "You can't just plunk your spaceship on our planet, let alone my country's grass, and think it's all right, you know. There are rules and regulations to follow. How would your planet react if I was to land there and lollygag, sending the whole place into upheaval?" "The robot offered to the green grass. "Exactly," agreed the Major. "So you see, you're going to have to move on or state your business." "Yes, and yes, the robot added helpfully. "Right, well." With that, the Major turned on his shiny black heels and stormed back. "A right royal bloody waste of time that was," he informed the scientist as he passed through them. "Don't speak a word of the Queen's. Thick as a Frenchie. May as well be Russian if you ask me. You!" he snapped to the shy corporal. "Get me a cup of tea." The robot sat against the silver spaceship, dazzling in the afternoon sun, and seemed to marvel at the contrast between a tiny bright red ladybird and the lush green grass it tiptoed over. The next 3 hours were taken up with trying to identify the language that the robot spoke. The young professor of diachronic linguistics suggested that it's vaguely similar to an old Mayan dialect. How can I say diachronic but not dialect? How weird. And it pleased to find they didn't pooh-pooh him this time. As a special treat for working out, the old professors would kind of let him do the talking. "Do you understand me?" the young professor, whose name was Kevin, asked in an old Mayan through a newly acquired megaphone with his megaphone hand. The robot looked up and shrugged. This was taken as an affirmative. "What is your name?" The robot of shadows of the robot and the spaceship stretched and melded with the trees. "I don't remember," the robot replied. "You don't remember?" Kevin scoffed. Yes. Oh, I never put that wasn't his robot, not Kevin, isn't it? Yes, the robot shrugged. Don't make fun of me, humanoid. When you have travelled as long as I have, you too would forget unimportant facts. Sorry, how long have you travelled? I don't remember. Really? What do you actually remember? I did remember to write a journal of my travels for the first 300 years, and I do remember it got a little bit pointless. Space outside is black, etc., etc. Do you still have your journal? It may have your name on it. I'm not an 8-year-old school child. Why would I write my name on it when I'm the only one on the blasted ship? Should I have backed it with wallpaper as well? The robot added sardonically. Okay, is it a fault? Sorry, I'm a little cranky this century, it said apologetically. I've been shot at and shouted at so many times on so many habitable planets that I've landed on that it's all get very, very tiresome. Really? How many planets have you visited that have life? I can't remember. Oh, Kevin said. He took a moment to relay the information to his anxious colleagues and then asked, Do you have an onboard computer? Yes. Great, maybe that can remember. No. Why not? I'm the onboard computer and the offboard computer, and guess what? What? I can't remember. Huh? Any star charts? I can't remember. What about the journal? I'll have to find it, and it probably won't be in a good state. Very, very old, you see. And so it went on. The robot, bored senseless of travelling, sold his ship to the MOD, who totally failed to do anything useful with it, and bought a house in Penrith, Cumbria, a town that is modelled on every other small town in Britain, insofar as to say is as friendly as gout, will only talk to outsiders if they're on fire, and then only to curtly inform them of their predicament and meander on their way. He, renamed Jessup, his choice not mine, writes poetry and does the talk show circuit. It neither changed the lives of Earth as we know it, nor leapt us forward in the advancement of science, but it was a nice day for June. Oh, and it later transpired that the young scientist was right. Robots do it up the plug socket. The ends. Nearly the end. When I pause it a little bit, I can't remember how to pause it on this thing. So the ends.